2025 has been just an absolutely astounding year for games. And I think it's funny because I think we're saying that like every single year now. Every year there are just amazing games coming out. But this year in particular has been just a phenomenal year for indie games, and especially indie sequels. We had Silksong finally release, and we had Hades 2, which, I'll be honest, technically, when I saw all the hype about, oh, Hades finally releasing in 2025 or Hades 2 finally releasing in 2025, I was like, oh, I've been playing this game for over a year now because it's been in early access since last year. It's been out for a while, and I've been playing it for a long, long time. But I figure now that the game is in its completed state, it's the best time to actually talk about this game. And I'm going to put it up front. I'm blown away by this game. I think Hades 2 is absolutely phenomenal. It improves on everything that Hades did, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful game. So now that I want to say 65-ish hours into playing, and that includes my playtime in early access, and I've beaten the game, I've rolled credits, I think now's the time to finally talk about Hades 2. So you're not going to believe this, but Hades 2 is actually a sequel to the 2020 game Hades. I know, crazy. And what's even actually weirder, which I just found out, is that it almost came out 5 years to the day later. Hades 1 released on September 17th, 2020, after also having a pretty long early access period, and Hades 2 officially launched on September 25th, 2025. Now, as this is a new game, I want to keep this kind of as spoiler-free as possible. The video I'm using is a mix of a brand new run as well as some stuff later in the game, just to kind of give you an idea of the different things that are out there. But I'm trying to keep away from story beats, stuff like that, so you can actually play and experience the game on your own. But in the broadest strokes possible, if you don't already know, the plot of Hades 2 is that Hades has been kidnapped along with his family by Kronos, his father, god of time, or sorry, titan of time. I want to get my terminology right here. He's been kidnapped, and hell has basically been taken over by Kronos, and now they're launching an attack against the gods. And it's your job as Melanoi, the daughter of Hades and Persephone, who was taken away as a small child and raised in a place called the Crossroads by the witch Hecate. So you have to go descend your way into hell. Unlike Hades 1, where you're battling out, you're actually battling downwards. And you do actually kind of go through some of the same areas on occasion. You'll see some similar things, but they've been changed, and you're going the opposite way, which is kind of cool. But your job, like I said, is to fight your way down and defeat Kronos and find out how to stop time. Having just finished the game a couple days ago, and I've still been playing the game since, just doing more and more runs. It's got that addictive roguelike quality that I kind of strive for in a good roguelike. There's some bad ones that I don't want to replay. This one I cannot stop playing for the life of me. But I think it's important to note that the story does follow along some of the same themes as the first game. I'm trying to be broad here without spoiling anything. So it has some of the same ideas as the first game, but they also kind of add some new elements and themes in to keep it fresh. But I think that's kind of nice that it has those through lines from Hades 1 to Hades 2. But at the same time, it doesn't require you to have played Hades 1 in order to play the second one. It's really nice. They're like very distinct things. There are very slight references to the first game or certain events that happen, but none of that knowledge is at all required to enjoy this game, which is what's kind of so beautiful about it. It's dangerous with sequels in general because sometimes they can require you to have played the games before, and that makes the entry point a lot more difficult. This one has a very easy entry point, and I think will appeal to a lot of people. The other thing that kind of helps this game out a lot in appealing to a wide audience is the vast amount of play styles you can go with. So similar to Hades 1, you have a array of weapons that you can use. You start with one, you unlock more as you go on, and they all play so completely different. And it's really interesting because with Hades 1, I found myself gravitating to certain weapons, but there was no weapon that I outright disliked from the get-go. But in Hades 2, there were ones that just didn't work with my brain, if you understand what I mean. They just didn't quite gel with the way I would think. And so I kind of did at first gravitate towards the same one or two weapons that I would use over and over again. But as I started to kind of broaden my horizons and try different things, try different weapons, I kind of fell in love with all of them. It wasn't an easy process like Hades 1, but it was a process that it required me to try new things, and I really like that. It gets you out of your comfort zone, it gets you thinking in a different way, and it's kind of beautiful. A good example of that, and this is pretty non-spoilery, thankfully, because you can see these weapons as soon as you've finished your first run. But the weapon you start with is a kind of a staff spear combo thing called Descura. It's great. I love it a lot. It's got a bunch of different abilities you can use with it. It's got range. It's got melee. It's a good all-arounder, and I really liked playing with that. The first weapon I unlocked after that was Lim and Oros, which are like 2 daggers. I love playing kind of stealthy rogue-like characters, and those damn knives are fast as hell, and I just love that playstyle because it worked so well with just a fast fight through as fast as possible playstyle. But then at first I really wanted to like the Moonstone Great Axe, but it is so slow, and it kind of like threw me off because the main attack combo is like this 3-hit combo, swing, swing, slam, and the delay in each of the hits is really slow. And going from using the knives, which are super fast, in your face, furious, you're moving around like crazy, to this axe where you have to like actually time out the way you're attacking so you don't get hit in between swings, really like messed with my head at first. But as I kept playing and I finally actually started picking up the axe and be like, okay, what can this thing do? What are its strengths? How do I use what is in the game to apply it to those strengths to make the weapon as good as possible? I kind of really started loving it, and it might actually be my second favorite weapon now. So I really appreciate how the game gives you all these options, and they give you all these options like really early on. There's a couple weapons you don't unlock until later, but right off the bat, you're given easy ways to see, oh, here's this weapon, here's how I get it, and none of them are that crazy hard. And so it gives you a bunch of different play styles pretty early into the game, so you can try out different things. But later on, as you've been playing, it gives you that opportunity to step out of your comfort zone. It gives you incentives. There are different, like, I don't want to say missions, but different, like, achievements you can do for using different weapons. Or sometimes you'll get a thing where it's like, oh, if you use this weapon, you get bonuses for using it on a certain night. And that isn't something that is new to Hades 2. That was also in Hades 1. And I really appreciate that about both games, because they bring you in so nicely, and then they start pushing you to try different things. And I think it's a really, almost kind of a comfort thing for a lot of gamers to like find what you like and then experiment and see what cool things happen. So I like that a lot. So going off of that, weapons aren't the only thing that changes, of course. If you've played Hades, or if you haven't, throughout the game, you are given boons by the different Greek gods. Boons are essentially power-ups or like upgrades that modify your weapon. They modify different aspects about you as a character, different things like that. And just like Hades 1, there are an absolute like buttload of options for things to use. But what I really like in this game, especially because it is a sequel, they do introduce new gods who you can get boons from, but they also bring back a few of the old gods. And what's really cool about that is it connects the two games together. It kind of ties them, but they're not the same abilities from the first game that you're getting. You see more growth between game 1 and game 2 in what the gods are giving you and how you use it, and that kind of feeds into Melinoi's playstyle, the way she fights. In the first game, all those boons are, of course, kind of outfitted for Zagreus, who's the main character of the first game, and also the brother of Melinoi in Hades 2. But in Hades 2, the boons are designed for her. They help augment the way she plays. And I guess I should say that you have a lot of different abilities you can use. There are your 4 main things. You have your main attack, which all of these can also be augmented with what's called an Omega attack, where it's like a special attack based around whatever button it is for using that. So, for example, I've been playing on a PS5 controller, so square is my basic attack button. If you hold square, it charges your Omega attack. But you have your attack, your special, your cast, and your dash. And each of those things can receive one augment from a god. You can only slot one thing in that at a time. Later on, you get choices, though, where you can trade out what you have in there for another god's thing. And actually, it's really cool because if you do that on a subsequent night and try to take a god from the one who you gave away their boon, they will comment on it. They'll be like, oh, I saw you gave away my ability the other day. That was messed up. And I kind of love that sort of continuity. It's like, oh, my actions have consequences here. This god is mad at me now. But basically, you have those slots, and then you have a fifth slot, which is for your mana, which actually I can't even remember what it's called in this game. But it's basically mana, where it's a certain amount of energy you have, and that is your energy regain ability. There are a bunch of different ones that make it so every time you deal damage with an attack, you regain. Other ones, like when you use your cast ability, it basically makes a big circle on the floor, and you can augment that with fire damage from Hestia. To it like kind of grows and like hits the ground a bunch of times for all the enemies in it. But whenever that cast expires, it restores your mana then. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it, and every god has a different like ability to fill one of those slots. And you can kind of customize your playstyle to that. And it's really nice because you can be like, oh, okay, this weapon I'm using, its basic attack is really good and really fast. Think of the knives. They go really, really fast and you attack with them. You can augment that with Apollo's boon that makes it so your attacks go in a wider range. So you're like slinging away with your knives and you're hitting 4 or 5 enemies at once instead of just one because you've extended the range with his buff for it. And the same goes for the other slots. The special for the knives is like a thrown, I think it's like a chalk arm kind of thing because it doesn't quite look like a knife, but you throw it, it comes back to you. And you can augment that with different things as well, and so on and so forth. Then outside of that, you also have other abilities that you can get from the gods. Things like, oh, every time you use any Omega ability, it might be faster, or it might do more damage, or whatever. Or you have augmentations off of what the gods give you. For example, Aphrodite, her whole thing is weakness. You apply weak to enemies, meaning that they deal less damage to you. Then, one of her later boons might be, oh, if an enemy has weakness on them, that debuff, you do more damage to them now. Things like that augment the playstyle. And so you can go really headfirst into one god if you're given that god through randomness. Or there are ways to kind of modify that randomness aspect, which Hades 1 had as well. But you can go down that path, or you can choose to get a wide variety of things, really make your character all over the place. And there's no right or wrong option. Both can be equally as powerful depending on how you play it and how your character goes together. There are certainly some gods that I pick less than others just because I don't happen to like their playstyle as much, but I wouldn't say that any god in this game is bad. There is no bad option. You are always given something to work with. And it goes in that whole thing of making this game accessible for everyone. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it in a world where there's a lot of divisiveness in between games of like, oh, that game's too hard. I'm thinking about Silksong in my brain right now, or there was, after that game came out, people were like, oh, it's too hard, or oh, you need to get good. That mindset. I don't see any of that in Hades 2. I think anyone could come into this game and find something that they can do to achieve success. And I think that's kind of beautiful. Along those same lines, and this is something where I think just Supergiant Games, who made the game in general, have always succeeded, is in their kind of interpersonal storytelling. So with all of those gods you get boons from, or with the other characters throughout the game, everybody has their own role to play in the overarching story, but they also have their own individual stories. And I think in that way, everyone can find a character where they're like, oh yeah, I can relate to what this character's experiencing. There's a story for everyone in this game. And what's also great, and what makes the world of Hades 2 feel so alive, and again, Hades had this as well, they're just, Supergiant Games is just great. I don't think they've ever actually, like, fully missed with the game. I think some of their games aren't their best, but they've never, like, fully missed with something. But with the storytelling, there are characters whose story connects to Melanoi, you as the player, it connects through there, or their stories intertwine with other characters throughout the game different characters you interact with might have interactions with other characters. Sometimes you come back to the main hub after doing one of your runs, and a character might be talking to another character, and you can go basically butt in on their conversation and listen in on what they're saying. Which it might seem rude when I say it like that, but it's storytelling. You're getting in on things in the interpersonal world, and it makes everything feel so much more alive. It feels like saying this is like storytelling 101 to keep the world alive, but not a ton of games do it. I feel like there are so many games, like if you look at something like Skyrim, for example, or any of the Elder Scrolls games, you feel like you're a character in that world, but you don't see the world living as much as it could because, these characters aren't they don't have intermingling stories going on with themselves. And that's a massive game. So I know why the devs didn't do it. But just thinking about how everything is so connected and cohesive and working together to make this beautiful full project is so cool. Now, something that sets Hades 2 apart from the first game, and I think improves on the replayability and on just the overall quality of the game, is that there are actually branching paths in the game. In Hades 1, you were doing the same basic run every night. You were going up and breaking out of hell. In this game, you can either go down to the underworld to fight Kronos, or you can ascend to Olympus and help the gods. Now, one path is much harder than the other, and you'll learn that by playing, but having these alternate paths to take really adds, again, more to the replayability. You're not doing the same thing over and over again. You have the option to go a different path, to do something different, and both are important for the overall story. You have to do both in order to actually, quote-unquote, beat the game, but they also offer opportunities for new characters, new gods, new bosses, new enemies, and just new terrain as well. I think this has been some of their most innovative work in terms of making as diverse a world as possible. It also makes the game a lot longer than the first one, I think. I beat Hades 1 in probably 20-ish hours, I will say, and that's however many runs it took me to actually roll credits on the game. And it's actually both games. This is not spoilers. Both games have, it's kind of spoilers, but both games have 2 credit rolls. There's your first, I beat the game, and then there's a second, I beat the game, if you know what I'm saying. But both games have that, and so they're long, but basically to beat Hades, it took me about 20 hours. This probably took double that time, and it makes sense because there's double the world to go through. And to make things even harder, to keep things more interesting and going, they brought back their sort of augments that you can put on runs in Hades. In Hades 1 and Hades 2, they basically are you can make it so enemies have more health on this run, they do more damage, or a whole wide range of things. There's even a really, really cool one that basically changes all of the boss fights. There are different, harder versions of every boss in this game, and it's super cool. It completely changes the way you experience the game after you've been doing the same boss over and over again, because unlike other roguelikes like Binding of Isaac or something where you might get a random boss, every boss is the same for each run. But these augments completely change the way the fights goes. They add new elements, they add new mechanics. It's super cool, and I've been trying to, I haven't beaten all of them yet, but I've been trying to go through them all right now, and it messes with my brain. Now, one last thing that I have to say, and I think really what is the highlight of every Supergiant game, is the soundtrack. I think that this is Darren Korb's masterpiece. He is, without a doubt, one of my favorite video game composers, and I'm 99% certain he's done every Supergiant game. I can't quite remember if he did Pyre or not, but I know he did all of the other ones. He has never put out a bad song, I don't think. But, oh my god, this is his masterpiece. Every boss fight, every area, every single thing that happens, the music is so freaking good. There was one moment that I had where I was fighting a boss, and I was getting near the end of the fight. Things were building up, action was ramping, and then a freaking flute solo busted out that just blew my mind as I was like taking down this boss, and as the fight ended, there's this ripping flute solo out of nowhere, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking music. I just realized I haven't like sworn very much this entire video. I don't know why. It's not like a conscious thing, but the music is just, it's so fucking good. It's good enough that I have started swearing now. So yeah, that's like, I'll say my base thoughts around all of Hades 2. There is one kind of little negative thing. It is really not a big deal, I don't think. But I didn't actually even know about it until I was recording this video, weirdly enough. I had heard people mention it in the past, especially during early access, but I'd never seen it myself until now. Basically, I think Hades had the same thing, but I also never encountered it in that game, so it might be something you never see. But as I was replaying through and I was recording on a fresh save file footage for this video, there's this mechanic they have in order to prevent you from progressing through the game too fast. I understand why the devs would do it for the sake of like story purposes. They don't want you to push through the entire game in one run, so you like jump through all of these story hoops without actually experiencing the steps, you know? But there's this mechanic where as you progress through, it happened to me, I think I beat the first boss on my second run with this new save file, and as I was going to the second area, you're met by a character who's like, nuh-uh-uh, and they give you a debuff, and that debuff makes it so every fight you do, the enemies start like exponentially doing more and more damage to you, and it's to kill you faster so you don't go too fast through the game. And I get why the devs would do it, and that's kind of something that has always set Hades apart from other roguelikes, where story is at the forefront of this game. There are other roguelikes like Binding of Isaac, or even card-based ones like Slay the Spire, where they have a story, but the story is not the be-all, end-all of everything. Hades is much, much more story-focused, and so I get why they want to slow you down so you can actually experience everything. But at the same time, it's kind of frustrating when I was going through the game. I was like, oh, I'm going to record footage of the first 2 areas in this direction. And then I immediately got hit with that debuff. And I was like, oh my god, there's no way I'm going to survive this, because the enemies start doing insane amounts of damage. And I think by the time I actually died, I got like 2-shotted by something. And that was only with all the enemies having like, I'm going to say a 40% damage buff. You know, it wasn't even anything crazy. They really want to stop that. And I kind of don't like that in terms of like hampering progression in the game. It really, really slows things down. But at the same time, I do understand why the devs would do it. I just think there's probably a better way to go about it than forcing the player to die, especially if they're having like a really good run. It kind of irks me just a little bit. I don't think it takes away from the quality of the game at all. It's just a small thing that I feel there could be a better way to go about it, you know? You know. But overall, Hades 2 is just a frickin' phenomenal game. And like I said, I've been playing it for over a year now. I got it the day it went into early access, and I just played a ton back then. I started the second save file about 6 months ago, I think, and then I started playing again once the full game released, and I've just been having a blast. I don't want to stop playing. I'm not going to stop playing. I'm going to keep playing the game probably right after I finish recording this stuff right now, because I want to get back into it. I absolutely love Hades, just the world of it all. I love Greek mythology. I was a Percy Jackson kid, you know, it's how we are. But it's just, they did such a great job expanding on the world and creating something, making it accessible to everyone while still like following through the lore of the world. And they make changes, you know, there are changes within Greek mythology that they make to help tell the story that they want to tell, and I think that's okay. It's how mythology is a lot of the time. It changes by word of mouth. But actually, that's kind of cool now that I think about it. I'm saying things off the top of my head here. But I really appreciate everything that Supergiant did in Hades 2, and I think it's a marked improvement on the first game, which the first game is already like a freaking, I'm going to say 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game. They somehow topped themselves. And that's really been, I think, the motto of this year is like, okay, we're indie devs. We're making a follow-up to our incredibly successful game. Looking at you, Silksong. How do we make it better? And they keep doing it. They keep making these amazing, amazing games. And I'm really excited to see what else is in the future for the gaming industry with all these amazing things happening. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Hades 2. Thank you so much for watching. Dallas here wanted to be part of the video, and I guess Fio did too. She's down in the background behind me, sitting there. But I love doing these really short, easy kind of reviews, especially if it's a game that I've absolutely loved playing, like Hades 2. So there'll definitely be more of these in the future. Plus, they're a lot lower stakes than my bigger, longer videos that I typically work on and actually write scripts for. So they're just nice filler material. But anyway, once again, thank you for watching. If you want to catch me live, I stream 3 times a week over on Twitch at twitch.tv/AndiDoesThings. I also make music. I have a song coming out this week, actually. Yeah, there'll be a link in the bio to my streaming service stuff. But yeah, once again, thanks for watching. Dallas, say goodbye. He's a goofy guy. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.